The voiceover booth can be an isolating place, particularly when you're trying to audition alone while simultaneously trying to get inside the head of the person who is sending those scripts. Now, if only there was some way that we could speak to them and find out what it is that they really want. Well, it is your lucky day, my friends, because one of those people is with me on the show. She's been in the casting world for nearly 20 years, and she's ready to share all of the secrets, or, most of them maybe. Welcome to the show, Kelly Moscinski.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
This is going to be really good. Casting directors, very popular people in the voiceover space. And, this might be a nice way to do it, answer all the questions for 1,000 people in one interview, as opposed to, 1,000 different people stopping you in the hallways of an event or whatever, and everybody asking the same questions over and over and over again. And
I love it. I love it.
so, we can talk about voiceover and casting, and that's fine. But I am a dad with 4 daughters whose house is in a perpetual state of chaos. And my research tells me that one of your special skills is actually home organization.
It is. It
So,
is.
what is your best, I don't know, Marie Kondo, joy sparking house organization? Like, I can tell that we just walked into your lane right here. The way your face just lit up, you're like, yeah, forget the casting stuff. Let's just talk about this.
I mean, I get interviewed for casting all the time, right? Now on the organizing and like decluttering space, I was on a minimalism podcast last year, things like that. But
Yep.
I don't get asked about it too often, but I am a certified organizational specialist. I have 2 little ones myself, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. So it's chaotic. I understand that part. Now 4 is probably even crazier, and 4 girls at that. Props to you. I have 1 girl and 1 boy, so I know what can come with the girls. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's honestly, gosh, there's so many things I could go into.
My organization tip is this. I walk into the house, my wife is massively stressed, and I say, look, if anybody comes over, it looks like we have a house with 4 daughters that gets lived in.
Yes. 100%.
And if they want to judge me because of all the toys and the chaos, then
Yep.
maybe I don't want to be their friend anyway,
Exactly. My motto is 5 minutes matters. So even if I only have 5 minutes to pick up the house, the whole house is not going to get picked up in 5 minutes, even if all 4 of us are working on it. But 5 minutes can make a little bit of a dent, and that's my biggest motto for cleaning and organizing.
It's always a battle because I'm at the point legitimately where I'm like, I don't care, whatever. This is our house. We live in it. This is what it looks like. As long as I don't break my neck while I'm trying to walk from one room to the other because I tripped on something. My wife, it just causes her endless stress and chaos. And she has not reached that woosah and breathe point of just let it be. Just let it be. One day the kids will be gone and then we won't have to worry about it anymore. But for the next 20 years, this is our life.
Yep. It is a battle, and getting kids to pick up anything is a battle. So, yep.
And I choose my battles, and that is not one of the battles that I choose to have.
Nope, there's too many other ones that need a lot more than that.
So I understand that you are also an avid audiobook listener.
Mm-hmm.
Fiction or nonfiction, or both?
A nice combination of both. I tend to go back and forth. It's like I'll listen to a memoir and then I'll jump over to a suspense or thriller,
Okay.
things like that. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
So I'm a nonfiction guy, always on the lookout for a good recommendation. So what's one of the best ones you listened to lately that you're like, ooh?
I've got a couple of them. So I just recently re-listened to Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Good for
Okay.
creatives. Green Lights, Matthew McConaughey's memoir, was actually really good. And it's even better when you listen to it because it's narrated by him.
Of course.
There's all kinds of things. Jane Lynch has a fantastic autobiography as well. So, and again, if you can listen to it read by her, she gives even more stories and kind of goes outside just what's written in the book. So,
Apparently, I live under a rock, and so I had never heard of Green Lights before, even though I mean I know McConaughey, right? But I know of him. I don't know him, but I was listening to a podcast with Dean Graziosi, who
mhm.
is somebody who works with Tony Robbins often,
Yeah.
and Dean helped Matthew turn that book or the premise of that
Mhm.
book into a seminar, basically. And so
Yeah.
Dean was talking all about it, and I was like, okay, now I'm intrigued. So when I was on vacation in July, I picked up a copy of Green Lights and I read it, and wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
so unexpected,
That's how I felt
so
too.
good.
Yep.
C- There were parts when I was like, I wonder how it is that this guy is still alive.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
some of the things that he has done. But if you want to talk about just straight up, raw, open honesty, just that in and of itself, there's probably a lesson in there for voice actors on how to be authentic. Because I don't know that I mean, I'm a big biography guy. I don't know that I've ever read anything as just open and authentic as Green Lights. It
Mhm.
was that's a
So good.
that's a good recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorites.
So let's talk about the stuff that everybody really wants to talk about. I mean, I want to talk about all this stuff. I'm curious about all this
We just
stuff,
have
but
to
I know everybody's looking for casting advice. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm probably looking for some casting advice too. But
That's what I'm here for.
you sent out over 300 cover letters and resumes. So let's talk about patience and persistence for one thing. And despite no responses, you decided it would be a good idea to move to LA anyway.
Yes, I did.
Talk about what that felt like.
Yep, I moved to Los Angeles with I mean, with nothing. My boyfriend at the time, my husband now, we've been together for 20 years. And yeah, it was just originally I was planning on going to New York. Long story short, I originally started in pre-med. I was going to be a doctor, psychiatrist, and I decided to go the theater route. I was doing a ton of directing, kind of got into the voiceover world that way, just through friends, recommendations. You work with actors, I need somebody for this, things like that.
Mhm.
Um, so I submitted to, yeah, over 300 back in the day when it was actual cover letters and resumes through the mail,
It's a
and not
lot of
not just
stamps.
email, right? Right. So yeah, I ended up I put that out into the world and nothing came of it. And this was a few months before I was thinking about moving. And then we decided just to pack up all of our stuff and drive out here from Michigan. And that was about it. So it was about it was a few months of just kind of living off of savings, doing some theater work and stuff here and there, which we all know theater doesn't really pay the bills. So mostly living off of savings. And then, yeah, Huck Liggett, who was the owner of the Voicecaster at the time, reached out and he said he's been hanging on to my cover letter and resume for several months and he had a spot open up and wanted to bring me in. I had also interviewed with a talent agency that same week and they wanted to bring me in at the time as a junior agent. And the two interviews, completely different worlds. And that is exactly when I knew, okay, I want to go into casting and I am not talent agent material. So,
So you burned the boats, so to speak. A
yeah.
little bit of a cultural transition probably from Michigan to LA as well. I love to
Oh, yeah.
drive through Michigan and visit Michigan every once in a while, but
Yeah.
I mean if you had to ask me, I would so much rather spend the winters in LA than, Traverse City.
Yep. And I grew up on Lake Superior. So
So snow, cold, wind chill.
oof, we kept the
You
shovel inside so we could open the door and shovel our way to the car every morning. So I do not need to do that again.
Yep. I fully understand. I fully understand. So it all worked out, which
Mhm.
is good. Very successful career now, going on 2 decades. I read something in another interview that you had done, and I'd like to dig into it because I think it's pretty fascinating, it's a fun advice. So it's advice, well, there's nuance here, right? Not everything is black and white. There's always got a little be a little bit of gray. But here's what you said. You spend hours every week auditioning and hearing little to nothing back. Did the casting director hear the audition? Maybe, but maybe not. Did the producer hear it? Maybe, but maybe not. Did the client hear it? Maybe, but maybe not. But the first thing to understand is you will never know definitively. So why waste time worrying about it?
Mm-hmm.
That is so good.
Yep.
And we all suck at it.
Yep. Yep. I mean, I even do in different regards, it's like we all do just as humans, that's, yeah, we're human, we're gonna worry about things like that. We're gonna be concerned about that. We always worry about things that we have no control over.
And it's never an easy answer. And that's, I think, the part that drives us the craziest, right? Like, it's never as simple black and white as you were good or you were bad. It could be that you were perfect, but you had the wrong name because the
Mhm.
client's ex-wife shares your name and he doesn't want that. So like whatever, like you never know. And yet we totally drive ourselves insane over this.
Mhm.
So how do we not?
I like to think of it as I use the analogy of, you have a bowl of M&Ms
Mhm.
and your audition is the red M&M. When we go and pick an M&M, we're not rejecting the red M&M. It's just on that time we go into the bowl, we grab a blue one. The next time we grab a brown one. The next time we grab the red one. So it's one of those things where it is very much like it's not being rejected. You just were not chosen for that particular role. There's another role that's coming that's for you, and you just it's almost impossible, but you have to kind of trust that that's gonna happen if you are doing the work on your end. If you are making your choices, if you're specific in your auditions, and you have that idea of being authentic to yourself
Mm.
and not trying to be what you think we want, because spoiler alert, we don't know what we want. um
Has
then
there ever been a client in the history of casting that knew what they wanted the first time out of the gate?
no,
Yeah, I didn't think so.
no. And so often it comes down to, it's like we'll submit, we call them wild cards, right?
Yep.
And it's like we'll submit somebody who's just a little outside the box, but I'm like, oh, but they're like, the choices are so good. And it's like if they want to direct them into the little box we all hear, commercials falling into, or then they're going to be able to do that. But those are the auditions that stand out, and that's because of that authenticity. So, what actors can worry about is bringing that authenticity to every audition, and then just knowing it's the right project is going to come along for you.
I'm curious at the level that you're at, and I think you're at a higher level, tend to be doing national stuff, working with the really reputable agents and stuff like that. So I'm guessing the people who are playing at that level, the voice actors who are playing at that level, who are getting access to your auditions, if we're getting access to your auditions, we probably don't suck, right?
Yep.
And so
Exactly.
I mean, there is a little bit of comfort in that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's frustrating when you keep submitting and you don't hear anything back, but odds are it's not because you suck. Now,
Exactly.
it could
Exactly.
be that you're this small of a tweak away from getting the next level or whatever it is, but you know,
That's
having a little bit of confidence and just continuing to submit and do the thing, right?
Yep. Yep. And being willing to be yourself, it's like
Yeah.
that is the hardest thing to do, right? It's like as actors, it's always like, oh, I want you to be yourself. And people are like, oh, how do I be myself? Well, I don't know how to be myself. What do I do? And it's like, what does authenticity mean? What does conversational mean? All these words that tend to be overused, but ultimately all we mean when we're talking about conversational is relatable. We want to relate to you human to human,
Yeah.
and more we want to hear the imperfections, we want to hear the flaws, we want to hear your personality. That's what's going to book the job versus doing the final spot for the audition, which is a huge difference, and people don't really understand the difference between the two.
So in those moments when I stumble and then I swear and go back and start over, you're saying don't edit that out because that's
Keep
authentically
it.
that
It's authentic. I've
everybody's
had
going to
that
do that.
happen, and some, there are some clients where it's like I might send them something funny like that. Most of them I wouldn't, but it's
Definitely
like
not.
I had somebody book a job recently who slurred a word in her audition. And she was like, "Oh, Kelly, I loved this take. I sent it to you because it's you and, I know you, but everything felt right about this take, but I slurred this phrase." And I'm like, "It's fine, let's send it. In fact, I'm going to put that take first on your audition track because it was so authentic." And she booked the job.
Yeah. It's funny, the older that I get, I think maybe the less that I care. And what I mean by that is like trying to achieve that perfection, trying to get every take spot on, trying to really get inside the mind of what are they actually looking for, like just making myself crazy, right? And the older I get, I'm like, whatever, just submit the dumb thing and get on to the next. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful
Right?
way. I just mean that in a way of, I think maybe that's where there's a little bit of authenticity comes from that because you're just like, just relax and submit it, go
Yep.
do the next one.
Yep. Yep. Do your best, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's nobody is expecting perfection.
I don't do a ton of casting, but I've helped clients from time to time. They'll ask me, for something that I can't deliver, and I'm always willing to help them find what they're looking for. And when
Yeah.
I send out auditions, I offer very specific, very detailed instructions, like label it this way, submit this type of file, et cetera, et cetera. And part of that is to help me organize submissions. But I will admit that part of it is also a test to see who is paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't trust you to read the specs or name a file correctly, like why would I want to trust you with my clients?
Yep.
I'm watching you nod your
Yep.
head because
Oh
I know you have
Oh,
thoughts on this. You
yeah.
have very strong feelings about this, don't you,
You
Kelly?
know, I do. I do. And it's one of those things that drives me absolutely bonkers because I literally lay it out. Like if you look at a
Yeah.
Voicecaster script, you are going to see the script, the specs, the audition instructions always in that order. It's very rare that we send something out unless it's like a same day rush or something where we don't
Mhm.
have time to reformat everything. You will always see our same format on the auditions. And so I literally tell you, do you slate or not?
Yep.
How many takes and how to label the file. And it's shocking sometimes. Maybe it's not shocking. I don't know. It's not shocking anymore.
It used to be shocking. Now it's like I just expect it. I'm like, okay, if I collect 15 auditions, how many of them am I going to throw out this time? Like, which is, I hate to feel that way, but
Now imagine getting 600 or 1,600. Like
so do you really eliminate them? If somebody screws it up, do you if it's a great take, or do you even listen
I
to
don't
it?
even listen. I don't even
Don't even
listen.
listen.
So I'll give you a quick overview of my casting
Mhm.
process if you want. So I download everything, and then from there, the very first thing I do, I create 3 folders: a yes, no, and a maybe. And I start sorting all of these files into those folders. So the first thing is I can tell right away if they're not labeled correctly
Yep.
because they're all wonky in the folder, right? They
Yep.
should be alphabetical, all of that.
Yep.
So first thing I do is I grab those, I put them into my no folder.
How many is that? Average
I
percentage.
mean, 10%.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
10% taking
So,
themselves out because they can't label a file.
yep. Yep.
Dang.
And it is very rare if it's somebody that I know really well and I know they're perfect for this, then I will overlook something like labeling. But even that's pretty rare because it's like I'm not even paying attention to who labeled
Yeah.
incorrectly. I'm just putting them in that folder. I am narrowing things down.
Now, if you got 600 of them to sort through, right? Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the next thing is I start listening through. You get 3 to 5 seconds per person. That's it. Those first 3 to 5 seconds. So if you slate and I said not to slate, automatically goes in the no folder. I won't hear anything besides the slate that you weren't supposed to do. Or vice versa. If I need a slate and you don't slate, goes in the no folder because I can't add a slate for you. So then, yeah, I'm listening and 3 to 5 seconds, something has to capture my attention. I will tell you of the rest of the auditions that I have, say 600 is an average. I have about maybe 100 if that, 80 to 100, that will make it into my yes folder. And that's because they did something different. Most
Okay.
people submit their safe take first. And if that safe take is first, so that's the take that, everybody has that instinct. When you read through a commercial script, you can hear how it's going to sound. If you have had any sort of experience in commercials or, auditioning at all, then it's one of those things where it's like you can hear the commercial in your head, right? So people always give that take first.
Hmm.
And then they also always do the take they think the client wants as their first take. But again, client doesn't know what they want, so I don't know what you're doing,
How are you
other
even
than
trying to figure
sounding
that
like
out? Yeah.
everybody else,
Yeah.
literally everybody else. It is one of those things where it's like the cadence is the same, the tone is the same, they hit the same words, they put the pauses in the same places. So out of, 500 people, I have over 400 doing the exact same thing. Second takes might be great, might be totally different, might have the personality. They will never get heard if I can't get past the first 3 to 5 seconds.
Right.
So from there, once I go through everybody, then I go back into my yes folder and I will start listening again. I will listen to the first 3 to 5 seconds of the first take, as well as the first 3 to 5 seconds of the second and or third take.
Okay.
So, and that's where I'm listening for range. Are they
Yep.
showing a range in just those first 3 to 5 seconds? It's like I tell people, go back and listen to some of your old auditions. Listen to only the first 5 seconds of each take. Is there something different? Did you have a different intention? Did you have a different take right from the first word? Because so often people start the same and the take changes. So the takes are different, but those first 3 to 5 seconds sound the same. So that is the round where then I'm looking for range because I want to be able to see what people can do.
So out of 600, like 20, 25% are making it
Hmm.
easily to the S pile.
Yep.
What percent? I know you said 10% right off the bat because they didn't label it right or whatever.
Yep.
What total percent are going into the no pile for other slated when they weren't supposed to slate, clearly didn't follow the specs, et cetera, et cetera.
I'd say probably at least another 10 to 15%.
So 25% on an average casting are ending up in the trash pile
Hard.
just because of simple instructions.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
insanity. Wow.
Yeah.
So if you're paying attention and you're good, your odds are not 1 in 600 at that point. Your odds are like 1 in 100, 1 in 200.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think maybe to a degree you just answered this, but when we all bring the same thing to the table in that we all have our professional demos, everybody has Source Connect, everybody's got a great home studio, everybody's trained with, well, most people have trained with great coaches or whatever. And so there is a level of a level playing field there.
Hmm.
How are we standing out? How do we how do we not when we all do the same thing? Like, I mean, you hit on a couple of things there.
Hmm.
Not maybe, maybe not submitting the take that you think should be first, maybe submitting the other one first just to pop out or whatever. But what are some of the things that maybe you've heard where you're like, oh, makes you that one doesn't get 3 seconds. That one gets 15 seconds or whatever. What are those types of things?
Personality is probably number one. It's like just bringing yourself to it. People get so scared, especially, on the commercial side, especially. Obviously, animation, video games, people, doing character work tends to be easier for people, whereas commercials, people tend to phone it in or they play it safe. And it's like we want to hear that personality. We want to hear your point of view. I want you to have opinions. It's like not everything has to be rainbows and sunshine. Like I want to hear your opinion about what's happening in the spot. So it comes down to that personality. It comes down to that authenticity. And by authenticity, I just mean allowing yourself to be you. It's knowing a clear point of view that you're coming from, having a clear intention. So, everybody always is, put yourself in the scene, make sure you
Mhm.
know who you're talking to. intention is huge. You have to know why you're talking about this. So that is one of those things where you can get really specific on that, and it can be so interesting. It's instead of just who are you talking to, it's you could talk to somebody, just a friend. That's what they always say, right? Talk to a
Yeah.
friend. You can talk to yourself. It's like it's
We're
more
really good at that.
right. It's more of the reason you are talking about this and trying to be as specific as possible. So it's thinking outside the box. I think a big part of it is also just opening it up to a lot of times with commercials, people are like, oh, I'm selling this product. What if we don't say we're selling this product? Because then you're going to automatically sound announcer, right? It's you're sharing this, you are informing someone, you're helping someone out. You also have to keep in mind that there are different versions of you. So, because people find character work so much easier than just being themselves, I like to tell people to think of the different versions of you. You are going to talk to your spouse or partner differently than you're going to talk to your parents, differently than you're going to talk to your kids, differently than you're going to talk to your best friend, differently than the person behind you at the grocery store. You have all of these different versions of you. Start tapping into that because it is
Okay.
so much more interesting. If you do a take where you are talking to your spouse and then you do a take where you are talking to your kid, those are going to be totally different, right? And it's going to be totally different if
What
you're
kind of
talking.
mood am I in when I'm talking to my kid?
Exactly, exactly. So there are different versions of you,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
There's like happy, playful dad, but then there is also like stern, come on, I'm over it. It's time to go to bed, dad. So, it's tapping into that kind of stuff. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't think of that when they're trying to just be themselves, but there are a lot of different versions of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And we all have our professional phone voice, and we all have, it's like all these different things. Tap into some of that. And I feel like it's when people make those choices that they are so much more interesting to listen to. And it becomes a lot easier for people too, because it's like, oh, well, I know how to do that because I do that all the time. That's part of who I am. So I think that that makes a big difference. And honestly, personality also comes out through ad libs, using lead in lines. And then I always get the question, can I leave a lead in? Absolutely. You can. You can. I wouldn't do it for every single take, but you can. And there are times when I hear a lead in and then they go right into the script, and I find myself listening for 15 seconds instead of 5 because they caught my attention. So things like that can kind of make that difference and make me keep listening.
Let's talk alt takes, although I think maybe some of what you said just now applies to this. But
Mhm.
for those alt takes, are you still looking for something that's on spec, but just a different perspective? Are you okay if somebody kind of goes off spec, if they think they've got something, totally different kind of take on it? Like, where do you stand? Because I know this is a question that I think if I asked this question to half a dozen different casting directors, I would definitely probably get half a dozen different answers. And I mean, I have asked this question, and I'm just curious,
Yeah.
where do you stand
Yeah.
on these alt takes?
Honestly, my theory is before you even look at the specs, when you get a script, hop in the booth, do a few takes just solely based on instinct. Don't even look
Mm.
at the specs. Don't let the specs influence you, because as soon as you
Okay.
look at those specs, our brains start to go, okay, I know what they want. They want this, they want that, and it's so hard to break out of that. So if you just do a few takes before you even look at the specs, a lot of times those end up being the strongest takes because they came from the instinct, they had the personality. Those tend to be the more authentic takes. And even if they are a little outside the spec, I'm fine with that because again, specs are so all over the place. I mean, we have all seen the specs where it's like, oh, we want it to be really mellow and laid back, take your time with it, but it has to be upbeat and energetic and have a really, move at a good clip. And it's like,
What?
do you realize that those are two exactly opposite things that you can use as your two different takes right there? And you're appealing to
Sure.
two different people. I think what a lot of people don't, a lot of actors, because you're not seeing these meetings and stuff. I have sat in on hundreds of these meetings where I see the 8 creatives and everybody's in a room together or Zoom room. And they are literally throwing out different things. And it's like, so one person is saying that they want the mellow, laid back read, right? And the other person is saying upbeat. Somebody is writing all of these down and they just get smushed together into one spec with no rhyme or reason.
The number of times that I have been in a directed session where there's, 6 or 7 people in the room, every one of them's in there trying to justify their existence. So
Mhm.
every one of them has to come up with a direction for you because they want to have the direct. And so, an hour and a half later, you wind up sometimes right where you started.
You started.
Or we've also been in that situation where we've followed the specs to a T, been 100% confident that we nailed it. We're literally waiting to cash the check on this job that we know, like, this is my audition. And then the spot appears on TV one day and you're like, what?
Yep.
That's what they went with? That's nothing like what they asked for.
Yes. All the time. All the time.
And so this is why we just
Yeah.
trust ourselves to, yeah.
Yeah, and I submit wild cards because of that, because they
Yeah.
don't know. And so if somebody is like, I'm like, oh, this personality and this read is so good, even though they're not exactly the spec, I don't care. I'm submitting them to the client and they'll book the job.
Talk about these wild cards. You've mentioned a couple of times your willingness to submit a wild card.
Mhm.
I would love to hear about a wild card that worked.
Mhm.
Like, this is so different and I have to submit this. And I would be very curious if you've ever got a wild card where you're like, oh my gosh, I can never let anybody hear this ever. What were they thinking? Oh, you have. I could tell.
I've heard everything. Well, I feel like I've heard everything, and then something comes in.
Well,
So
then one day somebody's going to submit something. And you're going to be like, wow, just when I thought I had heard it all.
yeah, yeah. Um, so as far as a wild card that didn't work, I have actually had somebody basically rewrite the script, and it's like the personality, the way they related to it was all so interesting, but they just slaughtered the script. I mean, it wasn't just improvising to add something here and there to naturalize, that kind of thing. They just rewrote the whole thing, and I was like, well,
Yep.
that's one way to offend the writer.
Yeah.
Had they just done the script, I think it would have been so interesting. And then on the other side, as far as, maybe a successful one, it's sometimes it can have to do with age range. It's like, oh, they're looking for 20 to 25. And I'm like, oh, but I have somebody who gave an amazing read and they sound closer to 40. It can be things like that. Sometimes it's just the personality. It's like they say in the specs, like, oh, we don't want anyone cartoony. Okay, what does that mean exactly? It's like, I can tell you what I think that means. Everybody can.
Yeah.
But there are some people whose natural voices just naturally sound cartoony. So then what can you say about that? It's like, well, they're not doing a cartoony voice. They are just being themselves. So there are some times where it's these bigger personalities, kind of these larger than life, whether they are naturally, just character sounding, or if they are putting something on that is just they've embraced whatever choices they made and they are running with it. And it made me laugh. Anything like that, then that is something, I will also submit. Good ad libs and buttons can make a big difference too. I've submitted some, appropriate and inappropriate. And some of the inappropriate ones have booked jobs, but I know the clients, so I know who to send what to.
You just never know.
Yes.
So, from your seat as the casting director, what's something that talent think clients care about, but in reality, they probably don't care about it at all?
Number one is perfection.
Okay.
Number two is perfect editing and post-production and audio quality. Honestly, I have booked a lot of people with not amazing audio quality. So it's one of those things where everything doesn't have to be perfect. And one of the things that drives me the most crazy is taking out all of your breaths. So a lot of people, especially when you're listening back to your own voice and you hear yourself breathe, it can pull you out. It can distract you, right? And it's like, oh, I don't want to hear all these breaths. But guess what? We know that you breathe.
It
Spoiler
is a
alert,
thing that us
I
humans
breathe.
tend to do. It's what's gonna separate us from the AIs ultimately, right? Because the
Yeah,
AIs don't have to breathe, so
exactly, exactly. Though rumor has it, I haven't heard it myself yet, but somebody was telling me that you can put breaths into AI now, into AI voiceover.
of
I'm like,
course you can.
right?
Dang it. There goes our edge. I thought that was the one thing we were still gonna have going for us.
It's the personality. It's all about the personality. AI can't make choices.
That's interesting to hear though, that I mean, I guess it's in some senses it doesn't surprise me, right? We want to submit the best because I think for a lot of us it's professionalism, right? I want to put my best stuff out. I want it to be clean. I want it to sound great, whatever. But if you focus on that more than
Mhm.
the read and the connection to the script,
Yep.
that's where you lose.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes people worry so much about that. And I've had, two things happen. I have had people just busy, out of town, whatever, have to record really quick on their iPhone and still book the job. I have also had people who have done basically all the post production on their audition. They book the job, they get into the session, and the client is like, oh, how come they don't sound like that? And it's because of all the posts that they did.
Everything that
It's
they're
they,
doing.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's a case for submit your raw audio because
Mm.
speaking of authenticity, right?
Yes. Yeah, and people are like, "Wait, raw audio? Oh, no." And they get so
I
freaked out
know.
by it, but I promise you, it does better.
Yep. Can anybody book with you on any given day?
Yeah.
It's not just like an elite group of the top 25 or whatever. On any given day, out of 600 submissions, it could be anybody from any town, anywhere,
Mm.
USA, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as you deliver what the client's looking for, anybody has a shot.
Yep, yep, and I've booked a lot of people on their first voiceover jobs ever.
I think that's important for people to hear because I do think sometimes, particularly when you get into the upper tier level of agent bookings and casting directors and all of that, nationals and all that sort of stuff, it's really easy to think that, it's the Hollywood, only the Hollywood can book these jobs or the New York talent or the Chicago talent or whatever. But if we're delivering the goods,
Mhm.
anybody on any given day,
Anywhere.
that's where the home studios really democratize things, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, the pandemic opened up everything. It
Yep.
was it was incredible, I mean, it also made it so that we get 1,000 auditions sometimes.
That probably feels a little overwhelming some days, but
Yeah, yeah, but it has opened up so much for so many talented people out there who just didn't wanna come to LA,
yep.
didn't wanna go to New York. So, yeah, it's been incredible, and I mean, I work with people not just in the US, but Canada and around the world, it's
Yep.
I work with people from all over.
A lot of VOs have said that 2025 has felt really slow.
Mhm,
Consensus has kind of been it started out really strong, like January, February, things were kind of cooking, and we're like, all right, here we go. And then things really kind of slowed down later spring, early into summer.
mhm,
Now we're all kind of hoping as we head towards holiday season and all that, that things are gonna maybe hopefully pick
mhm.
up. What are you seeing on your side? Is that the story that you're seeing, or are you seeing no, it's business as
I mean,
usual, more or less? What are you seeing?
it's interesting because we have been pretty busy. I would say definitely June and July were quieter. Not as quiet as we've seen in the past, sometimes in the summer. It's like sometimes in the summer it's like everything is quiet for a good month or two.
Yep.
This had its moments where I was like, okay, quiet for a couple weeks, then everything hit all at once, and then I was quiet for a couple weeks, things like that. I do find that there aren't the seasons that there used to be in voiceover. It used to be one of those things where it's like we knew when it was going to be quiet, when the
Yeah.
quiet periods were, and now it's just random. It just doesn't seem to have any sort of rhyme or reason. And part of that is everybody working from home. Part of that is there's just with AI and with all of those kind of changes, economic, political, there's so many things going on,
Yeah.
that I think have made things kind of all over the place this year. But I do, just in talking to clients and being in those meetings and things like that, I do think that things are going to kind of start evening out now. So, hopefully that means things are picking up a little bit more.
That's good to know. It has been a year. There's been a lot going on, a lot of external
Yeah.
factors, but we
And
won't
stuff
go
and
there because we're
things.
trying to have a happy conversation.
That's why I'm like, yeah, well, this, and this all have factors. Yep.
Yep.
Moving
Yep.
forward.
There's definitely been some factors. So you've been doing this since 2009. So you've been around, you've seen trends come and go, you've seen what's hot one day become not the next day.
Yeah.
Where are we going? We're coming into the fourth quarter of 2025. It's probably not too soon to be thinking about 2026. I'm guessing you're probably already seeing some stuff.
Yep.
It's probably going to roll 2026.
Yeah.
Where are we right now, and where are we going, other than you're not allowed to say genuine and authentic, because that's what everybody says, and I want a better answer than genuine and authentic.
I mean, come on, we've been genuine and authentic for 15 years. It's like that.
And you can't say non-announcer either,
What
because nobody even knows what that means. So
nobody. And the word conversational, I am always complaining about because I'm like, it is so overused. And what does that mean?
yes.
I'm always of the argument that conversational is no longer just like talk to a friend and be real. It's become a style of its own. It's like
How
give
do
me
you know
a
I don't talk to my friends like
conversational
that?
read
I mean, really.
with all those pauses and the
Yes. How do you know when I'm talking to my kid that's not exactly how we're having a conversation?
because I have kids of my own. But yeah, so honestly, it's like I feel like there's a couple of things happening. So
Okay.
first of all, I think there is the f- the flaws, the imperfections, and the personality have been probably the biggest trend and shift that we've seen in 2025. So coming from that authentic and genuine, conversational, the do nothing read,
Yeah.
it's a lot of people. That's how they always directed it. Is like, oh, do nothing, do less, simplified, just talk. And it's like, okay, but what does that mean? There has to be more behind it now. So that's boring. If you're just being conversational, authentic, genuine, it's going to be boring. It's going to be
Yeah.
what everybody does. And unless you have some of you in that, meaning your personality, and personality is different than just be you, be conversational. Personality is having an opinion, getting that opinion across, having a reason for talking about what you're talking about, having some passion behind it, things like that. And the imperfections are huge, where it's just you don't have to speak perfectly perfect all the time. It's like we want to hear that you are human. And I think the biggest thing with that in 2025 has been because of the AI battle.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like, okay, we can get a computer if we want this perfect polished read, right?
Yep.
But in order to hear the humanness and hear the flaws and that personality, we have to have a person. So that has been the biggest thing. The fun part has been I have actually been seeing more and more a range of things in terms of going back to some of the announcer reads,
That's
which
what
is
I've been waiting for a decade. So
exciting. It's so fun, and it's like for a while during the conversational era, we can call it, it has been one of those things where the announcers were always basically a parody, or they had to be a sportscaster, or they had
yep.
to, like they were always very specific. And now it's like we are finding that they want these genuine, more announcery sounds, which has been fun. And it sounds like in talks of campaigns that'll be happening quarter 1 of 2026, some of that's going to keep going in that direction. So that's it's fun, it's interesting, it's something different. So I'm hoping that also means that we actually see a variety of things then that make it to air. Because as we all know, even with the conversational reads in specs, it all sounds the same.
That's the thing that gets me is when I see all these auditions and coming from multiple sources, auditions coming from multiple sources. And I feel like if I got 25 auditions in a day, 21 of them have almost identical specs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but I know you don't all want 21 identical sounding commercials.
Nope.
And that's where it gets really frustrating. But that's where, like you said, just let your personality shine through.
Mm-hmm.
Just be you. So let's take this a step further then. You've been through all the trends, but you've also lived through the recessions, tech disruptions, AI is now a factor.
Mm.
So in, almost 2 decades of doing this, what's one thing, if there is one thing, what's one thing in the industry that stayed exactly the same about great talent?
Honestly, it's the people. It has always been about the person behind the voice.
Mhm.
It has, as a casting director, especially in more recent years when there is online casting, there's so many other ways that these ad agencies and producers can find voices, but they still come to me to cast, and part of that is the relationships that I build with people. Part of that is knowing people. It's like as a whole, the voiceover community is very supportive. It's a very close community. It's one of those where it's kind of, you're in a group, you mention somebody's name and everybody knows who that is, or things like that. And it really is about the people. There
Mhm.
are so many talented people that I don't need to work with the difficult ones.
Yeah.
It's like, be difficult in a session. I don't have to work with you. You don't have any talent that I can't find somewhere else with somebody who is pleasant to work with.
I think about, the Joe Ciprianos and the Randy Thomases, and you
Mhm.
don't like you don't hear about a career that spans what, 3, 4 decades or whatever, and
Yeah.
just as legitimate, just as on point, just as bookable, just as sought after now as they were then.
Yep.
And they're good people.
Yep.
That's the thing, eh?
Yep. That it's huge. It's you have to be, the entire industry is collaboration. It's like I can't do my job without actors. We all have to work together. And if you're not easy to work with and fun to work with, and that's where some of that personality comes in. I'll be honest, when I'm listening to an audition, those first 3 to 5 seconds can tell me if you love what you do and would be fun to work with. They can also tell me that you are on your 10th audition and you are over it. I can hear that in auditions, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, they've had a day." It's
May or
like
may not have submitted 1 or 2 of those.
yeah,
Not
yep,
admitting to anything, but
you're not alone if you have.
oh, yeah, I blame 4 kids and stress, but
That'll do it. It's a perfect excuse.
I think one of the risks of a successful talent who has achieved the mountaintop, right? Consistently booking, getting the nationals, agent jobs, etc., is complacency. I'm there, I'm doing it now, so I will always do it now, which isn't always the
No,
case.
nope.
I'm curious what your thoughts are for how often should somebody be sitting down with a coach and maybe reviewing auditions or making sure this read is still on point, because what was making you money last year may not make you money this year, or what's making you money this year may not make you money next year or whatever. What's your advice on that? Because I think sometimes it's really easy. Sometimes we go extremes, right? Sometimes we coach too much and then fill our heads with more information than we could possibly process, and then we have no idea where to go in the booth.
Yes.
But then it's also just as easy to get really comfortable and complacent because you're booking and then
Yep.
stop getting any new information at all, which is
Yep.
also a problem.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think everybody has to do regular check-ins, you know. Trends are always changing. Things are always shifting, you know, and people change. And I will be honest, the one of the biggest things that I see start to happen is people start to phone it in, you know,
Yes.
especially if you're booking and you're like, "All right, I'm good to go." Then you just start to phone it in. You start to do what you always do. You go into default mode.
Mhm.
And a couple things happen. One, you don't keep up on the trends, so you're not shifting with things that are shifting in the industry. And, you know, it's and two, you start to lose the passion for it too. You know, sometimes I've worked with people where it's like bringing it back to the basics sometimes just relights that fire, you know, gives that passion back. Sometimes that's all you need because again, we can hear that in your audition. We can hear if you care about what you're doing and love what you're doing or if you're just doing another audition, cranking them out, you know. It's and that happens. We all get to that point, you know. But yeah, we can hear that. I think people should do at least an annual check-in at the very least because things do change year to year. You know, probably more than that, honestly, even if it's just getting feedback on some auditions, you know, and that can come from the casting director who is casting it, that can come from your agents, but you know, you have to be getting some sort of feedback and staying on top of things.
I think the problem is that we need more clearly defined trends because we've been living in the genuine, authentic, conversational non-announcer trend for a decade now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's really easy to think, well, I nailed that trend. But there was the 2018 version of genuine, authentic, conversational non-announcer. Then there was the 2020 and the 2021. And
Mhm.
we need to figure out a way to more clearly define those trends so that it's easier for us to decide, oh, I must not be on anymore. We we need to add another word into the mix or something, or put a stamp on it. This is the end of this version. This is conversational, genuine, authentic, non-announcer version 2.0, and we're getting ready to go into version 3.0.
Yep. Where
Maybe
we
that's
want
what we
more
need.
personality. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And you know, it's like going back to training and stuff, it's like any profession. Do you think doctors just get their degree and they're
Yeah.
30 years into their career and they're not learning anything new? I sure hope they are, right? It's the same sort of thing. You have to stay up on top of it. And a coach can probably hopefully shed some light on it for you
Yeah.
because yeah, the word conversational is just we're all done with it. We're done.
I've talked to a couple of casting directors now who reiterate the fact that you are cheerleaders, not gatekeepers. And I think it's really important that we understand that
Yes.
yes, you have access, you hold the access to the jobs, but at the end of the day, you're rooting for us to succeed because if we succeed, you succeed. And so you are literally championing us. And so with that in mind, I want you to think about the talent who is close. You've heard their auditions before. Maybe you really want to be able to include them, but they're this close, but they're just not quite there. But you're genuinely rooting for them to succeed.
Mhm.
What is a piece of advice that you would give them that could potentially help them finally cross the goal line?
So a couple of things. One is, you know, if you can get the information, and again, this is a tricky thing, but if you can get the information of are you being shortlisted, are you know, it's like we do keep people in mind specifically based on auditions. I have had clients write things for particular voices that they've heard me submit multiple times because they're like, oh, I love their performance every time, but they don't seem to get the final spot, you know.
Right.
And so it's like they've written things specifically for people because of that very reason. So, you know, a couple of things. One, make sure you're getting the feedback. You have to get the feedback, whether that's coaching, training, or just having somebody listen to your audition and give you some feedback on it. You have to get the feedback. You have to just honestly just keep at it. Like that's really the biggest thing for me is like I have seen so many people, it's like they audition for 2 years and nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. And then all of a sudden, bam, their job comes along. And then that's when things start to snowball. So, and the correlation that I see with that is the confidence. As soon as you book, you have the confidence. The confidence shows in your auditions, you book more.
Yep. I did it
How
once, I
can you
can do it
get that
again.
confidence before you're booking?
Right.
That's usually going to come from positive feedback that you're getting because you're doing the work. You're putting in the work to have solid auditions and you're getting that positive feedback even if you're not quite booking yet. So it's kind of that confidence and building that confidence and keeping that confidence even before it comes from the bookings.
Tell me about Voicecaster Lab.
Voicecaster Lab is our newer digital training platform. So we have some on-demand classes there. A few things. There's been seminars that I have run, demystifying the casting process, a marketing and agent seminar. My signature course on there is the Finding Your Authentic Voice. And that just goes through all the different ways that you can tap into conversational and being you. I also have segmented out of that as a separate thing in case people don't want the whole course, just Finding You in Take Two, which is essentially a very similar thing with finding different takes, finding those different versions of you, that sort of thing. Voicecaster Lab is also the platform for our Voicecaster Insiders membership.
Okay.
It's $30 a month, $300 for the year, and I am in there posting daily. So we do a bunch of different things. We do a monthly challenge. So right now we have a performance bingo card going on. So trying different takes with auditions and encouraging people to kind of break out of the everyday conversational do nothing read, right?
Yep.
And then we do weekly workouts for our members. We do the daily things are like, Monday motivation, take action Tuesday, Wednesday wisdom.
Yep.
They all have a theme. So I'm in there posting every day. We offer feedback on auditions, websites, demos, all of that, and all of that's included in the membership.
It's kind of funny now that every time we say conversational in the course of this interview, we have to stop and laugh because we realize how ridiculous and overused it's become. But it's still the thing that everybody uses. It's still the direction that everybody
Don't even
says.
know what it means anymore. Nobody knows what it means.
So you do offer a lot of different services, Voicecaster Lab being one of them, coaching, demo production, all those different things. So if somebody wants to learn more or get connected, if they're interested in talking with you about coaching or learning more about the Voicecaster Lab, where do we go?
Yep. Voicecaster.com has everything, and voicecasterlab.com is the other site, but that's also linked to voicecaster.com. So if you go to voicecaster.com, click on actor services, and you will see everything.
Okay. And we'll make sure to put that in the show notes so that it's really easy to find.
Right.
One final question.
Yeah.
You can snap your fingers and have every voice actor who is on your casting roster instantly master one skill. What would it be and why?
Oh gosh, I have like a list of 10 going through my head right now. If I had to choose one, it would just be to be unapologetically themselves. Because I think it is the quirks and the fun that I have with people in conversations that is so much more interesting than anything else.
I feel like that comes back to something you said earlier, which was really it all ties back to confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just confidence in you being you, confidence in what you bring to the mic, what you bring to the read,
Yes.
confidence in the training and the coaching that you've taken, confidence
Yep.
in the demos that you have to put forward.
Yep.
Right? It all comes back to that
I
confidence.
call it authentically unfiltered.
Yeah.
It's I want you to be authentically unfiltered.
Right on. Kelly, this has been fantastic. And I really do genuinely appreciate you taking the time to just lay it out there for us. I don't, I feel like you held nothing back here. Kind of feels like you just gave us a 1 hour masterclass deep dive into the insights of the
I love it.
casting director.
Good.
Which I understand makes your life easier, right? Because if we do better, you do better.
Hey, it's a collaboration. The more
Yep.
information I can share, the better.
Well, Thank you for coming on and sharing. I
Yeah,
genuinely do appreciate
absolutely.
it. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Mark.